Hi everyone. Please take a moment to scan the QR code so you can open the pad and ask me your question. Now, is there any business analyst in the room? Okay, great. Project manager, in case you split roles, purely project manager. Okay, great. Maybe tech or developers? Oh, thank you. Welcome. And okay, business owners may be curious to know more about techniques. Okay, great. Okay, now, please raise your hand if you ever thought you understood something, only to realize later that you completely missed the point. Well, shame on you. I'm kidding. I'm Caroline. I'm a business analyst at Odoo, and for the past 5 years, let's say that I've had my share of those oh moments as well. With the time, I came to realize that the most important and yet the most challenging thing about business analysts is to bring clarity into what feels sometimes like complete chaos, right? So stick with me and I'll share with you my best tip and advice on this journey. First question, it's a kind of question that we love at Odoo. Why do business analysts exist? We love this question because it helps grasp the sense of purpose, right? So why do people come to us in the first place? They come to us because they have to run their business. They have business requirements. They need to sell, they want to sell more, they want to sell online, or they want to sell on a new point of sale. They need to deliver their product to their clients, so they need to make sure that they have enough in stock, so they know when they have to replenish and how many items. Then, of course, they have to pay their employees, so they have to know when they work and when they don't work, so they can plan the work schedule accordingly. They have to plan appointment, field service, and so on. You get my point, okay? And our role then, as business analysts, is to align the tools and the processes with those business needs. Now, there are many books about process analysis and diagrams, workflow, BPM, and so on. My intention during this talk is not to use the next 20 minutes to summarize it, but there is one thing that I would really love to talk to you about, one thing that in my opinion is the most important of all, which is the fresh eyes. Sorry, I'll just take my glass of water there. So, fresh eyes. Why fresh eyes? Thank you. Eloise? I have appointments while I'm working. I know, I'm super efficient. So, about fresh eyes. You know, when business owners come to us, it's actually a great opportunity for them to take a moment and step back from the day-to-day and have a look at the big picture. Because, you know, most of the time they are focusing on daily decision. They are solving problems on a daily basis. And if they manage to keep an eye on the long-run challenges, it's already very good. Breaking into that market, opening, creating this new product, whatever. So having this chance of stepping back and have a look at the system that I have created and how it works, this is really a rare opportunity. Let me explain. If you have kids, if you are a parent like me, or if you discuss with parents, you probably know how tricky it can be to set your kid to bed, right? So you come up with a routine, as you are told, so there is the bath, and then toothbrush, and then pajamas, kiss, good night. But there is always this one night where your kid doesn't want to brush their teeth. So you come up with a solution, and you find this great Pokemon app, and they can win a prize each time they brush their teeth. And they love it. And the next thing you know, they only want to brush their teeth with that app. This is only one night. But then, the rest of the time, there is also the kiss goodnight. They don't want a single kiss. They want mommy's kiss, daddy's kiss, the sister kiss, the dog kiss. It's a true story. and so on and so on. And the next thing you know, this is 1 hour and a half that you spend on this 10-minute routine, and you're exhausted. Now, you have created a wonderful system, and you found many, many, many solutions. And in the end, is the system working? Yes, at the end of the day, the kid fell asleep. But can you improve it? For sure. And this is exactly our role as business analysts. Now, what is a fresh eyes? It's really just like Men in Black, if you got the reference, if you were born before 2000, maybe. So this is the neuralizer, right? So what you want to do is really forget about everything you thought you knew and start fresh. So you forget about any beliefs, any certainty, any assumption that you have made in the past, and you start from a blank page, okay? Now, this is how you can actually start approaching any project from there. And then when you unbuild everything you knew, you can start building with your client a common understanding of the problem that you are trying to solve. And you can start understand the what, the why, and the how. And you do that by adopting the same attitude as a 4-year-old. So if you know 4 years old, you know that they have this fresh perspective on world because they don't know anything about how it's ruled. But they are curious to know more because they need, in the future, to solve problems as they arise. So they need to understand the basic rules. And so they ask why, and why, and why, and repetitively, until they got to what they think is the root of the reason of why they were asking why in the very first place. Okay? And this is exactly what we want to be doing as well. We want to question. We want to dig. And we dig and we dig. And we dig because we know that when we dig well, we often find solutions that were quite far from what we expected at the beginning. Better solutions. And so to the digging, we ask questions. We ask the why question, of course. We ask it a lot, but we know that it's annoying, so we try to vary a bit. So instead of asking why, we ask what are the reasons that led you to take that decision, at what point did you think that it was the best option, etc., etc. Sometimes we also find the way to just shift perspective by asking, and what if we didn't do that? What would happen? And these kind of questions are great because they force actually the speaker and the client or the business owner to be critical about what they are requesting and to think about the value, the added value. All right? So that's about it. Now, have you ever found yourself describing something to someone just to have them jump in directly and offer you a better solution? You know how annoying it is, right? So just don't do it. Don't do it. Hold back. Hold your judgment. There will be a time for the solution, but at the very beginning, what is important is just to understand your client's perspective. And this is very important, and it also involves don't lead the question with the solution, right? Typical question is don't ask if they need price lists because the answer is in the solution, is in the question. Sorry, this is something that I used to do a lot when I was starting as business analysis, in the business analysis. I was quite stressed about my project, so I went into Odoo. I took every possible feature and then I turned it into a question. And so I approached my kickoff like, okay. We have price lists. Do you need price lists? Great. There is a CRM. Do you need a CRM? And in the CRM, there are leads and opportunities. So do you want leads or opportunities? And in the end, I ended up with this list of requirements that looked more like grocery shopping list than true added value. So a few years ago, we shifted as a team, and we started asking questions that were more oriented to the business than to the solution. So instead of asking, do you need price list? We would ask ourselves, what is the problem that the price list solve? How we manage your price? Great. How do you manage your price? What are the challenges that you face? CRM. Can you tell me more about how you manage your client relationships? Etc., etc. And this was a big shift for us because we realized that we could unlock a greater added value than ending up with some meaningless list of features, right? Now, ask question, listen to the answer, of course, and listen to hesitation, listen to the silence, listen to everything that is in between. Client is hesitating, maybe is just reflecting about something that you just said and that deserve actually to think about it, take the time, and maybe they are about to share something that they didn't plan to share in the first place that will actually reveal an important need. I mean, it's okay to have silence. It's even okay to have awkward silence. Just like this one. See? We are okay. I'm fine. Now, it's great to listen, but it's even better to go on site, visit clients as much as possible. This is really where you can get a great added value, because when you go on site, you can start noticing things. You notice the pile of documents that is on this desk and that maybe reveal an organizational problem. Maybe you will notice people yelling at each other's desk, and so you notice that there is communication issues. Maybe you will also notice that there is this pile of package over there in the warehouse, which are actually waiting for what? For being lost, for arriving late to their customer? Not sure. So this is really when you can go into the reality and gather even more information than just what you are told, what you are explained. Now, if you can't go on site, or if as business owner you cannot invite your consultant on site, just try to give as many visuals as possible, okay? It's one thing to be actually on site, to be there, and it's another thing to see it in action. And you can see it in action with picture. You can see it in action with recording. You can record the whole manufacturing chain and the journey of a product from the manufacturing to the delivery. And this is also very interesting because then you can also notice the small details that are not being told. So go on site if possible. And when you have done all that, so you listen to your client, you ask questions, you observe, and so on, then there is the moment where you want to build a common understanding of the thing that you are going to build. So make sure that you understood each other properly. Draw, just like Donald, right? Use the rephrasing, okay? Give the opportunity to the speaker, the opportunity to actually validate what you've just said, or maybe correct a bit, or maybe add additional information. Also, obviously simplify. So as business analysts, we run into complex stuff. And I found that best business analysts have this ability to actually part this complex problem into small chunks that are easily understandable. And part of it is use visuals. So try to do some drawings, so diagram. There are so many tools and techniques, BPMN, etc., etc. The only thing about it is just remind that those are only tools to serve one goal, which is reach this common understanding. So don't abuse of them, use them wisely, but use them if possible. Okay. So if you have ever, just like me, approached a business analysis with a checklist of all those questions, my piece of advice for you is don't do it anymore. Don't do it, and instead use active listening. Who knows what active listening is here in the room? Okay, great. Well, in case you don't know, active listening is a communication technique that is focusing more on understanding the speaker perspective rather than rather than focusing on what you are going to do, or you are going to sell, or the solution that you are going to offer, right? So it's really about asking questions, hold back your judgment, and make people feel heard so they can hear you. I mean, people won't hear you. People don't want to hear your solution unless they have felt heard at the very first place, That's it. So I hope I convinced you that this is the essential tool that you should bring with you in your toolbox while starting an analysis. And I wish you good luck in your project, and I'm ready for your question as well. Oh, this is early. Great. We have a lot of time.
Thank you, Caroline, for your presentation. Seems that we have nice and skilled business analysts here in the room, as there are not too many questions here. First one, let's jump to it. How do you handle a client which is unable to formulate their business?
A client that is unable to formulate their business. Maybe I would start with a simple question like, what if I was just your new employee and you need to form me, to train me, so that, because I need to start working in your company. And so try to switch a bit perspective so they can just tell about things that they know, because maybe they are just quite a bit intimidated by the question that you are asking. I don't know, I would start with that. Maybe ask yourself, ask them to just explain very in simple words what they are doing.
Okay.
Guide them. Ask them to actually do. Okay, so you come at the office, what do you do first? And then they show you instead of explaining you. Because most of the time, I mean, any business owner know what they are doing because they are working. So it may be easier for them to show you. So show me.
Okay, interesting. How do you recommend preparing for a business analysis?
So not with a checklist, of course. So I would recommend to just maybe learn a bit more about the business. So it's a bit like different from what I said, the opposite maybe, but have some context and write down maybe the different assumptions that you have, because actually the fresh eyes, you are never going to reach it. So just assume that you don't have fresh eyes and write down every assumption, every belief that you have, and ask yourself, is it true? Or is there any reason it could be not true, okay? That would be one thing, to try to get to this fresh perspective, and then just have this kind of rough area when you want to bring your client, and then listen.
Now, in terms of estimation, how would you determine the amount of time needed for a project?
Okay, so for us, usually as business analysts at Odoo, we start our project. The business analysis that we do lasts more or less 10% of the whole implementation time. So if you spend 4 hours understanding what is the business analysis of your client, most of the time the implementation will take 40-50 hours, more or less. So that's a bit.
Okay, now people are getting encouraging, more questions jumping in.
Great.
Now, as a personal point of view, is for you a good idea to use a diagram since the beginning with clients?
Yes, it can be. So it can be useful when there is a workflow and you actually want to make sure that everyone has understood properly where Odoo will step in, for example, and if there is interaction with other software, that is really useful to actually have those diagrams so that you can really know where you are starting, what the flow is starting at Odoo and when it's ending. But it depends really on the complexity of the project. If it's an easy, simple project, the best thing is to really go through the project and that's it. I mean, Odoo will do the job and you just follow the flow, trust the flow of Odoo.
Okay, considering those bullet points you just pointed out, in this case, how would you work if there are in case of imprevised?
In case of, sorry?
Imprevised. Unforeseen situations. Unforeseen situations when you have been already scheduling that planning, that bullet point about the implementation?
I'm not sure I understood the question. Sorry. It's so how do you work with the improvisers? Everything they forgot to say. Of course, yeah. So indeed, people forget to say things. So I would say that the first piece of advice would be to don't focus too much on the business analysis phase. I mean, it's important, of course, but what you want to do is go as fast as possible into the implementation and on a small amount of stuff so that you can do all the cycle once on a small amount of stuff again, and then you can actually get feedback about your business analysis first, and then maybe the information that your client provides. You can know better your client in the action, in the course of action. And so you can know that they forget. They tend to forget to tell you details. They tend to forget to test. If I go on the question in the previous talk. They tend to forget this and that, and then you can adjust and adapt your approach. So that would be the advice. And then improvist, I mean, there are always things that we forget to, there will be always a question that you forget to ask. There will be always a piece of information that people forget to tell you. It's fine, just find solution and that's it.
Okay, now something concerning internal procedures in Odoo, and probably you can give some recommendations. How do we document your understanding and business analysis in Odoo? How do we document those?
Okay, that's a good question, because at Odoo we are very poor at documenting things, meaning that we are more into the action. So how do we document our business analysis? Well, there is obviously our notes, and what's important in the end is the output. So sometimes the output will be a diagram that we show to the client, but most of the time the output is really the Gantt perspective. So there is the planning, the budget, and so on. And so we just part the requirement into small chunks, and then we estimate it, and that's mainly a document. I mean, most of the time, it really depends on the size of the project. If the project is very simple, then we can really go through the project, and there is no need for an extensive documentation. But of course, there are more extensive projects who require this kind of documentation, and in this case, we use just Odoo, actually. And so we have those tasks, and then we describe the requirement, how we plan to solve it, if there is any customization, what are the different customization, etc., etc. So
okay, let's jump
maybe
into
not Odoo is poor at documenting, maybe it's me.
Let's jump into the last one. In your opinion, what should be the technical knowledge a business analyst should have?
That's a good one as well. I think that as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, what's important is just to have a bit of the context. So you should know how is the database working, what is the logical between different applications. There is no real need into knowing deeply any technical knowledge. What you really need is to be able to be this bridge between client and techs in case there is any requirement. But about that, I think that if you want to know more, you should definitely stay to, I think this is the talk just after, maybe after. There is one talk dedicated to developments and how to write requirements, and I think that's a good, it's Friday. So you have the time to prepare.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.